Well, good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday, no, Thursday morning, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. As you can see, I'm back in my, quote, normal venue here, thanks to my great friend Tom Mills. I had called him the other day when my video didn't produce any sound for apparently no reason. And just got off the phone with him, as a matter of fact. It's, by the way, I'm filming this on Wednesday. And so just got off the phone with him, and, he piddled around there, here and there and everything. Oh, well, your microphone got on mute somehow. Well, I didn't mute it. At least I didn't think I did. So thanks to his expertise, I keep telling you, I'm a techno dummy. It is absolutely fantastic to have good friends, really, really good friends who know what they're doing in a computer and can say, oh, well, let's try this. So he did this thing called TeamViewer and went into my utilities, and said, well, look here, Don, this is what it is. You had it on mute. Well, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. So very, very thankful to my good friend, Tom Mills. Now then, want to get right into today's video. As I told you, I'm not going to spend tremendous amount of time going back over the territory of Luke chapter 18 and the Greek term en Taxei, when Jesus said, will not God avenge his elect who cry out to him day and night? Verily I say unto you, he will avenge them speedily. Greek term en Taxei. Now, as I've shared with you, and once again, I'm not going to take a tremendous amount of time, certainly not on each one of the passages where the term appears, but I want to take notice of the fact that the argument is sometimes given by futurists who want to negate, destroy the temporal immanence, the objective immanence of New Testament time statements. So they tell us, well, Jesus said he will avenge them speedily. Well, that doesn't mean soon. It doesn't mean shortly. It doesn't mean quickly. It means that when he finally gets around to doing it, he's going to act really, really, really rapidly. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, the Greek had words for rapidly as opposed to imminent. En Taxei is not one of them. Now, I've already shared with you a passage from Acts chapter 12 and verse 7. Peter was in prison for preaching the gospel. He is in chains in this Roman dungeon. Loads and loads of fun. Bad food, no sanitary conditions whatsoever. Rats this big. Cruel soldiers guarding you. There was an earthquake. The door of the prison swung open. The guard is incapacitated, or guards. The chains fall from Peter. And an angel appears and tells Peter, Peter, rise up quickly and depart. Now, I shared with you, that might have been the day that my sound went out mysteriously. Somehow. Anyway, I had one individual claims to be this great scholar. And he actually had the audacity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is argumentum ad desperatum exemplified. He said, the angel wasn't telling Peter when to get up. He just said, get up now, or something to that effect. And when I read that, I was going like, seriously? Can anyone using maybe half your brain? I don't mean to be rude or crude or disrespectful, but surely anyone can see that if you make the statement, the angel didn't tell him when to get up, but to just get up now, that now is not a time statement? It's utterly ridiculous. Argumentum ad absurdum is the technical Latin term for that. So, it's more than obvious. Context demands it. Logic demands it. The angel was not telling Peter, okay, Peter, look, I know you're really enjoying your time here in Hotel Rome. So take your time leaving. After all, your chains are off of you. I'm sure they're going to bring you sirloin here shortly. And, you're going to have some blueberry muffins coming your way. So don't worry about when you're going to leave. Just make sure when you finally make the decision to leave, you've got to run as fast as you can. You see, right-thinking people, let me even use the term honest people, can see very quickly en Taxei is not rapidly versus imminently. Likewise, in Acts chapter 22, immediately after Paul's conversion, he goes back to Jerusalem and he's in the temple. And he tells us he falls into a trance and the Lord appears to him and says, Paul, there is in this city those who would seek your life. Rise up quickly and depart. Once again, logic. I suggest integrity. I suggest that contextually, anyone and everyone can understand, realize, and accept, unless you have a preconceived notion that you've got to destroy time statements. Everyone knows that Jesus was not telling Paul, now look, Brother Paul, you're in the temple. What a grand and glorious edifice this is. Why don't you take some time and take the grand tour? Go over and admire, as much as you would despise it, go over and admire the Fort Antonio on the northwest corner of the temple. Awesome Roman garrison over there. And just don't cause any trouble. And while you're at it, you might go out the Watergate and go down to the Pool of Siloam and take in what it must have been like on the Feast of Light, Feast of Sukkot. And Paul just stand in front of the Hikal, the holy place, and the magnificent gates that were there. Stand in front of the temple that it took 20 men to open the gate. Just admire the beauty and the size. Now, when you finally have taken the royal tour, I want you to take the fastest chariot you can find and leave Jerusalem. Don't worry about when you leave. Just worry about how fast you travel when you leave. Well, you see, I know, and I think any right-thinking person knows that the emphasis is on imminence of leaving. Just like in Acts chapter 24, in which Agrippa, or am I getting that wrong? Is it Festus, was about to go to Caesarea shortly. Was he going to wait 20 or 30 years to go? No. He left very quickly. He left very soon. There's no question that it's imminence versus rapidity. Likewise, in Romans chapter 16 and 20, now the God of peace shall crush Satan under your feet shortly. En Taxei. And so here in an eschatological text, listen, I've had folks in regard to Acts chapter 12, in regard to Acts 22, 18, in regard to Acts chapter 24, they've said, well, obviously imminence is there. But, wait a minute now, in Romans 16:20, when Paul's talking about the destruction of Satan, now he shifts and he's emphasizing rapidity of action, not how soon it was going to happen. Argumentum ad desperatum. Because let's see, the time of the destruction of Satan is the time of salvation, right? The time of the destruction of Satan is the day of the Lord, right? Well, of course it is. Well, Paul said in Romans chapter 13, verse 11, following, and now knowing this, it is high time. The time has come for you to put off the works of darkness and to walk as in the day. The day is at hand. Literally has drawn near. And by the way, he said, it is high time. It is the hour. The hour has come for you to awake out of your sleep. By the way, that's resurrection. Yeah. All those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall arise. So, the time of the destruction of Satan, which by the way is the end of the millennium, is the time of salvation. It's the time of the resurrection. It's the time of the kingdom. It's the time of the new creation. And Paul said, the time has come. The day is at hand. Now is our salvation. When does salvation come? Well, let's see. Hebrews 9:28. To those who eagerly look for him, from the Greek word apekdapkomai, which is an eager, expectant looking for. To those who eagerly look for him, he shall appear a second time apart from sin for salvation. Paul said, Romans 13, the day is at hand. The hour has come for you to wake out of your sleep. Our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. And you know, I've had people say, in fact, this is quite common to read it in the commentaries. Well, you know, Paul said our salvation is nearer than when we first believed. Well, the Romans had probably been converted for 20 years or so. So, yeah, it was nearer. I'm sorry. So we're supposed to believe that Paul was saying the passing of 20 years makes your salvation nearer. You know what it says? It still says the coming of the Lord for salvation was nearer than when they first believed. It doesn't negate the imminence of the coming of the Lord for salvation in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And to suggest that Paul was saying, your salvation, the coming of the Lord, is 20 years closer, but, you know, we still got 980 years to go, at least. It just makes no sense. And finally, in Revelation chapter 20, verse 10 to 12, John was told, Jesus told him, behold, I come quickly. In Taxei, and my reward is with me. Now catch the power of this, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus told John, who was writing in the 60s, relatively early 60s, I am convinced. Jesus told John, behold, I come quickly. In Taxei. Well, once again, we are told, well, that means rapidly, not soon. But wait a minute. Jesus said, behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give to every man according to his works. But wait a minute. Got to catch the power of this. Matthew 16, 27 and 28, the Son of Man will come in the glory of the Father with his angels and shall reward every man according to his works. And verily I say unto you, wait a minute, verily I say unto you. Do you remember what that means? Amen lego humin means or calls attention to what is about to be said that is going to emphasize what has just been said. Matthew 16, 28 does not introduce a new subject. It doesn't break up the discussion. Verse 28 is emphasizing verse 27. Verse 27 is the prediction of the Lord's coming with his angels and judgment of every man. Verse 28 tells us, and there are some of them standing here which shall not taste of death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. That means the coming of the Lord of Revelation chapter 22 was going to be in the lifetime of some of those people that were standing there when Jesus said, some standing here which shall not taste of death until they see the Son of Man coming. Now, I got to tell you, this whole theme, ladies and gentlemen, of the vindication of the martyrs, and that's what all these almost all of these passages that we've dealt with in Taxei, not all of them, but some of them, were promising the imminent vindication of the martyrs. Now, since Matthew chapter 25, 31 is built upon, drawn from, based on Joel 2 and 3, which is the last days, day of the Lord, vindication of the martyrs, as well as, pardon me, as well as Isaiah 2 through 4, which is the last days, day of the Lord, vindication of the martyrs, Isaiah 4 verse 4. So since Isaiah and Joel are the source for Matthew 25, 31 and following, and since Matthew chapter 25, 31 therefore is built upon them and is therefore concerned with the vindication of the martyrs, that means that Jesus' statement of Luke chapter 18 verse 6 to 8, verily I say unto you, he will avenge them speedily. That meant that the vindication of the martyrs of Romans 16:20, Revelation 22:10 to 12, and Hebrews 11, which we'll get to, was going to take place in the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. That means the Olivet Discourse is not divided into two subjects. It's not talking about AD 70 and then the end of time. It is one united discourse. Unless you can prove that in Taxei cannot mean imminence, but rather rapidity of action, the Olivet Discourse can't be divided. Or unless you can prove that Luke chapter 18 is totally different from Matthew 25, 31 and following. Can't do it. Okay, out of time. Be sure to join me tomorrow as we continue our discussion of why N.T. Wright is wrong on the redemption of creation. See you on the flip side.